Howdy, howdy, all. Welcome on into Goose Talks Film. I'm your host, Goose, and here we talk about films. Most of the time, new release ones, and this week we are talking about the new release horror film Tarot, also known as horror. See, the way it's spelled is going to throw me off. Horrorscope. So you still pronounce it the same, but it's got the R in there, like it's making a play on horror and horoscope. But it is, I think, known as Tarot. In majority of the world, I only saw that it was called Horoscope elsewhere. I think it might be North America, but not entirely sure. I know it's based on a book from the 90s called Horoscope. So, surprised why they didn't go with just Horoscope. I think that was a good name. I don't think Tarot's any worse or any better, but they obviously did it for a reason. So this is the directorial debut of Spencer Cohen and Anna Holberg, who are frequent collaborators. They've done short films together. They have written screenplays for a few movies. Not not the best of resumes in terms of writing for these two. Of the feature films they've done is Moonfall from 2022 and The Expendables 4 last year, which was one of my worst movies of last year for sure. Considering how much I'd loved the first two Expendables, thought the third one was okay, the fourth one was just horrid. And one of the problems was the writing. So, not great. And Moonfall was good fun. It was a nice little, end of the world epic type movie. Probably not one I'd watch again. Not that they're not really my go-to subgenre of films, of end of the world type movies. But yeah, so this is their directorial debut. It's not a terrible debut. I've seen worse, but I've definitely seen better. So the short plot synopsis for Tarot is when a group of friends recklessly violates the sacred rule of tarot readings, they unknowingly unleash an unspeakable evil trapped within the cursed cards. One by one, they come face to face with fate and end up in a race against death. Now, if you think that sounds like a shit ton of other movies, then you're absolutely correct. This doesn't feel original at all. Without obviously getting into the spoilers yet, we'll stay in the spoiler-free territory at the moment. But I think what holds this up is some of the characters, and probably more so the actors portraying the characters. We don't get a lot of character development. Without giving too much away, it's it literally says in the synopsis, that people are going to die. If you've seen movies like Truth or Dare, Ouija, Wish Upon, all those types of movies where a group of friends do something that reaches to the other side that they shouldn't be doing, and they all end up getting killed one by one, this is literally the same as those movies, and I guess they are technically a subgenre of horror, but they're all so similar to each other in terms of all the beats that are hit, hit by hit, pretty much. But what I will give this movie is it is rated PG-13 in North America, and that's M here in Australia. So, in Australia it goes G, PG, M, MA15 plus, and R18. So, M is, it's recommended for 15 and older, but younger people can go see it. So, they were restrained in, I guess, what they could show with, the kills and all that type of stuff. And I think that's probably its highlight point. If you want to see some pretty cool and interesting ways to show kills, in horror movies without all the blood and gore and all the stuff that's probably overused these days, and Tarot does a pretty decent job at that. And if you're maybe a younger horror fan, or a person who wants to get into horror but want to kind of ease himself into it, Tarot, or, there's probably better options out there, but these types of PG-13 / M15 plus movies are good ones to get you into horror. They'll kind of ease you in with the jump scares, the violence, all that, and their overall tone and all that. So Tarot would be one I'd probably recommend to maybe a few people that are younger than 15, around about that 12 to 13 mark, that want to get into horror but aren't necessarily sure that they would be able to handle it. Then Tarot is a good one, because it's kind of one if you can't handle Tarot, then you won't be able to handle anything, more than that. Certainly not many slashers that are out there, but different things scare different people. Might be jump scares, might be the kills, it might be the storylines that they focus on, in terms of death or demons, devil, etc. So, as we do on Goose Talks Film here, we like to rate, or I should say recommend, a movie out of 3 categories, which are go see some movies, wait until streaming, or don't bother at all. Look, I'm a big advocate for supporting your local cinema, especially in the smaller areas like myself, where I live in a town of, roughly 35,000 people. We are super lucky to have a local cinema that's been running here for over 20 years. Considering I know a few places that are close to where I live that have more, they have 50,000 people and their cinemas have closed down. So I am very lucky, and everyone else in this town is lucky that we have a cinema. So I always say, if you're going to go to the movies, then go. It's more so for the people that don't go to the movies a lot. Look, this isn't going to probably be a good date night movie for you, or a movie that's going to make you want to go to the movies. There's plenty of other movies like Late Night with the Devil and stuff will be good conversion movies, especially conversion movies and seeing horror movies as well. This probably won't be one of them in terms of that. But look, I saw this at the movies. It was literally just me and another random lady in there, and the experience was good because of the sound and all that. The jump scares are pretty, beat by beat. They're not really original, cliche jump scares, I should say. But yeah, look, I thought the cinema experience was good. I'm a member of my local cinema, so I get $10 tickets and I get a $10 combo of a drink of popcorn. So $20 go to the movies for me, once a week. I think that's really good. And I this movie didn't make me regret paying the $20 to go see it, food included, obviously. It's certainly not one of those movies where I regretted going. As opposed to a movie like Imaginary, right? I watched that on digital. I was meaning to watch that at the cinema, but a lot of things didn't go my way when it was out, and it was only at our movie theatre for like a week and a half because it didn't do overly well in Australia for the box office. But that I was glad that I'm like, okay, I'm kind of glad I didn't spend the 20 at the movies and spend a little bit less on the digital rental. Tarot, I'm like, it was decent. I was entertained for an hour and a half. Look, it was an hour and a half. It's a bit like Baghead, which I, really enjoyed. That's probably been my sleep hit, or maybe my guilty pleasure, maybe, because I know it's not an amazing movie. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, and it didn't probably get awesome reviews from critics, and it flew under the radar. It hasn't even got a Wikipedia page, so that tells you one thing. But it did make almost $4 million at the global box office, so I was very happy for that movie. I really enjoyed that. I think in terms of horror, the best. The bar's been set high with Late Night with the Devil. I haven't seen Abigail, nor have I seen The First Omen. They're the 2 big horror movies that have been out that I have not yet seen. Hopefully, the next few weeks I will see them and cover them. And Sting will be out, hopefully in a week or 2 down here. We'll wait and see. But anyway, back to Tarot. Yeah, look, before we get into the spoiler territory, this would be... I don't think I'd recommend don't watch this. To many people, I think either go see this if you're a horror fan and you want to go see a horror movie, like maybe you and your friend or maybe you and your partner go see horror movies together. Then like this isn't gonna ruin your night. This isn't gonna make you regret, like I said, paying your $15, $20, $30 to go to the movies. It's an hour and a half. You're probably gonna be entertained. Some people might really like this, especially people that haven't seen Truth or Dare, Wish Upon, and those types of movies. This might be fresh to you, and I think you're the top people that this is probably more catered to. And the biggest shock to me after watching this and doing some research was it was actually based on a book. And I thought, well, it's kind of a shame that it took this long for this movie to be made and adapted from the book, because there's been, like I said, so many similar movies that were made, 5, 6, 7, 8 years earlier. So this one kind of feels like it's just copy and pasting them, which it's a shame because it's clearly not, because it's based off the book. And I'm not sure how accurate it is to the book in terms of adaptation and, how much it actually shares of that. But I do think it's a bit of a shame for the filmmakers and especially for the author as well. A lot of authors, their biggest goal is obviously to become a number one bestseller and to maybe sell a certain amount of books. And a lot of them in the top 3 goals is get a movie or TV deal from it. So, look, I think this movie will do well at the box office. It's got an $8 million budget. I think they did really well with the $8 million budget, I have to admit. That's kind of the common budget for a lot of these horror movies that are coming out this year. I know Imaginary was maybe a little bit more. Late Night with the Devil was around about the 9-10 million mark. I know the first Omen has probably had the biggest budget so far, along with probably Abigail. They were bouncing between the 20-30 mil mark. And Immaculate was around about this budget. So I think as horror fans, I'll just end on this before we get to the spoiler territory. I honestly think we are getting spoiled to shit as horror fans. Like, we're not even halfway through the year. We're in our 5th month, and we've already had more than 6 movies released in the cinema that are horror. Probably sitting around the 10 mark almost. Not all of them got wide releases, but all these movies have been released to the cinema, like Late Night with the Devil, Immaculate, Tarot, Imaginary, The First Omen, Sting. Even Infested got a release in France and some of Europe. Night Swim, there's some others I'm probably forgetting as well. So, yeah, we're just so lucky, and that's why I say, if you're a horror fan, you're a diehard horror fan, if you can, go to your local cinema and watch all these horror movies coming out. You're not going to like them all, but that'll guarantee that these big wig executives will continue to not even take risk, because, these budgets are small compared to all these other big live action, CGI-filled action movies, that I'm starting to get, really bored with. And that's funny for me to say, considering all the horror movies we're getting in. Movies like this are similar to other horror movies. I still prefer this than sitting through a 2.5-hour fucking bloated comic book movie these days. Like, I'm still a big comic book fan, but I'm just enjoying just reading comic books and not looking forward to adaptations, unless they're ones I'm looking forward to for just personal reasons. Like, I'm looking forward to the new Blade. I'm looking forward to the new Hellboy, because they're like personal favorites of mine that I just love seeing on the big screen, and they're not oversaturated either. And Jonah Hex is my favorite comic book character of all time. I want him to get a proper on-screen adaptation. Outside of that, I could do without comic book movies in similar type, the Fast and Furious and stuff. So it just amazes me that it's taken this long, last, probably just before COVID, just after COVID, where we're getting all these influx of horror movies. So I'm just, really, really happy we're getting all these. And if I can't see the movie, then I love watching these, because, we're heading into winter now in Australia. There's honestly nothing I love better than when my daughter goes to bed and my wife goes to bed early, and, I get to sit in the lounge, I get to watch 1 or 2 horror movies with my snacks and, my coffee or whatever I'm drinking. And it's rain outside, got the fire on, got my dogs with me. That's like my awesome, I can't even speak, I'm so excited. That to me is the ideal winter Saturday night. And even on a Sunday night, because, I work Tuesday, Saturday, so I don't have a normal weekend, but I'm lucky I get the 2 days off. Anyway, so I'll stop talking shit, and we'll head into the deeper depths of Tarot, and that means we're heading into the spoiler territory. So here's your warning. You've been warned. If you don't want it spoiled, go watch the movie and jump right back in, and you can hear me discuss it. Alrighty. So we'll delve deeper into 2024's Tarot, directed by Spencer Cohen and Anna Hallberg. Hallberg? I think I'm saying it wrong, but if I say it a million different times and one's going to stick, we'll be right, I should say. So, as we usually do here, if it's made available to me, I like to read the full plot synopsis of the movie with spoilers included, all the major things included. This is about 5 paragraphs, so as usual, bear with me, but I'm excited because this literally just got added about 3 hours ago, and I'm actually recording a bit later than usual, so that was good timing and good luck that I have access to this. So here we go. A group of friends, Haley, Grant, Paxton, Page, Madeline, Lucas, and Elise, rent out a mansion in the Catskills for Elise's birthday. With tension in the group following Haley and Grant's recent breakup, they decide to distract themselves by having Haley read their horoscopes with a box of strange tarot cards discovered in the basement. Although Haley states that using someone else's deck is against the rules in tarot, they decide to proceed. Elise receives the High Priestess and Lucas gets the Hermit. Madeline gets the Hanged Man, while Paige and Paxton are read the Magician and the Fool, respectively. When Haley reveals Grant has a devil card, the two argue. Finally, Haley reads her own horoscope with the cards and gets the death card. The next day, the group returns to campus and notices Haley's readings coming true, such as Lucas receiving a financial reward. That night, Elise investigates strange noises in the attic and is attacked by a monstrous version of the High Priestess who bludgeons her to death with a ladder. Her death is considered an accident, shocking the others. Haley reveals she began tarot reading while her mother was fighting illness, but the cards always foretold her death. Lucas is later attacked by the Hermit in a train station and is killed by a speeding train while attempting to flee. Haley notices each death corresponds to the tarot readings and the group suspects something is amiss with the deck. The group decides to visit Alma Astron, an expert on the occult and tarot readings. She identifies the cards as belonging to an astrologer who, in the late 18th century, served a baron in Hungary and would predict the future for him. After a reading that predicted the baron's wife would die during birth, the baron banished her. After the reading came true, the grief-stricken baron ordered his men to kill the astrologer's daughter. The astrologer, driven mad by grief, killed herself and cursed the deck to kill anyone who used them. Alma reveals the cards are responsible for several tarot reading groups dying in the past, including an incident in London she narrowly survived. Alma urges the group to destroy the deck, which is still in the mansion. Driving in the mansion, their car breaks down and they are attacked by the hanged man who kills Madeline. Terrified, Paxton leaves the others and returns to campus while Haley, Grant, and Paige return to the mansion. At campus, Paxton is attacked and seemingly killed by the fall. The group is unable to burn the cards and requests Alma's assistance. She attempts to contact the astrologer's spirit, and after she appears, Alma is killed by the Six of Swords. Paige accidentally splits away from Grant and Haley and is lured into the basement, where she gets sawed in half by the magician. Upstairs, Grant and Haley are attacked by the devil and death, respectively. As Grant is dragged away by the devil, Haley confronts the astrologer. Using the cards to read her horoscope, which lands on death, Haley lets go of her mother's grief, and the astrologer's spirit consequently is burnt alongside the deck. Haley and Grant reconcile over their survival and relationship and start to make their way home. On the way, Paxton picks him up and retells his survival story. His roommate Todd had opened the elevator door, which made the fool disappear. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good and bad, like just in that telling of the plot. And by the way, sorry for hearing my dog barking in the background. I do apologise. He's witching out. Like I said, I'm usually recording this a bit earlier, and he's usually pretty good, but he's misbehaving. So I apologise if you hear barking in the background. With my settings, it shouldn't be too loud. So anyway, yeah, look, there's things I like about this movie and things I really dislike. Look, similar to Imaginary, there are quite a few, the most typical cliche jump scares you could ever write and execute in a film. There's a few of these in here. Some aren't too bad. Like, the ones I hated about Imaginary were the ones that literally lent to nothing. You know, where there's a scene with the main character, there's a monstrous thing behind her and is meant to be a big jump scare for the audience, but she doesn't know he's there. Like, nothing about her changes because she doesn't know that it's there, and it literally didn't make sense to the story because the creature hadn't been released yet, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, prime example in this, where that didn't tick me off too badly, was ones like when they're in the mansion, Paxton goes to open a door because he hears the door slamming shut and open all the time. So he opens it, looks out, and as the sensor light on the porch comes on, a loud noise makes him jump, right? And that's fine because that's involving the character in as well. So the character's getting jump scared with the audience, not like the bullshit that was being poured in Imaginary and other horror films as well. So, yeah, look, and in terms of the characters, my biggest problem with these types of movies is the pacing is always the same, where they like to kill the characters earlier in the film and progress. So half an hour, 30, 40 minutes in, if not earlier, the characters already start getting killed. So you don't get a lot of time with these characters at all. And I think with the tarot reading, that was their way of trying to give these characters as much character development as they could. Which didn't really work that well because just the way they did it and whatnot wasn't enough. We have a few characters like Lucas and Madeline specifically. We don't get a lot about them, like anything really that They're clearly early on in their relationship, or they're not actually official yet. There's hinted to because the group's making fun of them, and he walks her home once they all find out about Elise's death. He walks her home. They have a bit of an awkward thing outside. She wants to invite him in, but she doesn't. He clearly wants to kiss her goodnight, blah, blah, but they don't. Then he dies. So those two, don't know anything about them at all. So you don't really care about their death. What I liked about Lucas's death was when he went to the train station, he went to the forbidden area, and there's clearly a few run down trams or trains. I think I'm actually not sure what they are. Trams, I think. And there's obviously still a through line that comes through, and he obviously ends up getting hit by one and dying. That was a cool little setting. It was really creepy. Like, anything that's a cemetery of anything, like, plane cemetery, bus cemetery, any of those places with run-down vehicles, it's dark, it's gloomy, there's graffiti. That was quite cool. In terms of the setting, I just jump back a bit. I watched the movie because I didn't really watch a full trailer for this. I just saw like a 30-second YouTube teaser for it. So I was disappointed when the movie wasn't going to be fully set entirely in the mansion that they had booked on Airbnb. I thought that, that's going to be cool. Like, they're going to be restricted with how they're going to kill these characters and when, and it's hard to make things look like an accident when they're all getting picked off one by one inside the mansion over maybe 24 hours, 48 hours. That would have been a bit better. With this, it's kind of like, okay, they leave the mansion, which was a really cool setting. It was a cool mansion with very creepy basement with all these different artifacts and stuff in it, and then they just jump back to normal city life like a lot of other boring horror movies. I think I appreciate when a horror movie can tell a really good story and with great pacing, great cohesion, character development when it's just in one setting. Late Night with the Devil, prime example. That's literally limited to only an hour and a half in one evening at a TV set. And Immaculate is in there as well. That's set at like a creepy monastery and stuff. Not a monastery, a church, or I can't remember what it's called, where the nuns are. But anyway, like things like that. And I honestly, I know it's based on a book, but like I said, I'm not sure how accurate it is to the book in terms of full adaptation. But yeah, look, I know it would obviously try and stay true to the source material as best it can, but I think this specifically would have benefited a lot better from it taking place all in the mansion. And I know that then you're restricted to how everyone gets killed and whatnot, but then you don't have to worry about involving law enforcement and all that type of stuff. You make the excuse that no one can get service and stuff. Great, and no one can leave the gates. Maybe the gates are locked or cursed or whatever. There's enough there to make it make sense. And in this movie, it's your typical like, oh, don't call the cops. They won't believe us. Blah blah. Which is probably true, but like I said, that happens literally in Truth or Dare, and Ouija and stuff. So it's just hitting too many of the same beats for me. I know they go back to the mansion eventually, and that's where I think it really benefited in the climax of Paige's death. Was really cool. It was really drawn out. It was different than the other ones where she gets accidentally lost. She gets separated from the other two. She then gets lured into the basement because I think it's Elise's voice or someone is asking for help, and she gets lured in there. Comes across a magician who was on her card, and she ends up running from him. And there's like a fake live audience. They're all like weirdo people like clapping for him, and he's a very scary looking magician. They've done a great job on the design for the different like shape shifting creatures as well. But yeah, then dumb. You're getting hunted and killed by a magician. Why would you hop in a box? I mean, that's not plausible to me at all. But she gets in the box. She then eventually gets sawed in half, but it's a slow build to it. It happens a bit off screen. You see kind of her POV, but it's very dark and gloomy, and you can just see the outline of the saw. So you don't fully get to see like her legs get chopped or her get chopped in half or anything, but the noise is enough. Like I said, they do a really good job with the kills, where it's the facial expression of the victim and also like the sound used. That was probably my best kill. Well, I should say my favorite kill of the movie. And yeah, the scene with like death and the devil and all that at the mansion, and then you have Miss Astron there as well. Her death was pretty gruesome. But yeah, I think the other deaths were just, for some reason, and on paper, like if I was reading this script right, this would be the death scene which I think would have been the highlight. But for whatever reason, it didn't hit. It was, I don't know, just the most forgettable one. I think the scene where Madeline gets killed on the bridge. She gets hung by the hangman, and I don't know, it just didn't hit for me. And like I said, reading that on paper, you would think that would be like the cool one, right? Like this creature, scaling the top of the bridge, running after Madeline while she's running away, even though they told her not to run because that's going to lead to her dying, and she runs and she gets hanged right in front of Haley. But yeah, for some reason, I just like boring, like I don't know. Yeah, Paige's death was definitely the best. The way Paxton survived, I mean, that was telegraphed early on, right? One, because he was like kind of the only one that really got a positive sentence in his reading without it being kind of like a backhanded one, where it said he would unexpectedly come through for his friends. So unexpectedly is because they just assume he's dead, and he rocks up and helps them, save them in whatever way, right? And then two, his was really the only fully off-screen death that we saw. Because technically they're off-screen, but they're not really. So, Elise's death, well, we know she's dead because, one, we hear it, and she gets beaten to shit by a ladder, and blood splurts out onto the phone. So we know she's dead. We see Lucas get pushed in front of a train, and blood goes everywhere. We know he's dead. Madeline gets hung. We know that she's dead because it happens right in front of them and us. So when all we see is him screaming and the creature's mouth opens to him and then it cuts away, I thought, okay, well, he's 100% surviving and he's just coming in the end to help them. But he doesn't really help them other than gives them a lift. Like, they would have survived. They would have walked for all night. But, yeah, look, and the actor playing Paxton is probably going to be the only fully recognizable face to some people. He's obviously in the Spider-Man, like the Tom Holland Spider-Man MCU movies. I'm forgetting his name, but he plays his best friend. But, great actor, and he plays a different type of actor in this character, sorry. He plays like a bit of a stoner, like he's the goofball, he's the smartass, but he's also the one that panics all the time. But he clearly is a good friend because they all obviously put up with him and stuff. So all the characters were, your typical horror movie character, except for there was no clear arsehole or bitch character. So when it comes to a lot of horror movies involving a group of friends, a group of characters with 5 or more people, you're guaranteed one of them is either going to be a female character that's a bitch, she's up herself, and she picks on one character, usually the final girl, or you get the douchebag, usually a stereotypical jock-type character who also picks on the final girl's boyfriend or whatever. But we didn't get that in this, and it was kind of a breath of fresh air. That's probably one of the positives I'll pull from this. But just again, and the cast was really good. I thought the actors themselves were all likable. The characters felt real to a degree. But then again, we didn't know enough about them. I didn't care when they died. And I've said this before in previous horror movie reviews on here, is there's 2 different types of movies. There's a group of characters, like Infested, didn't perfect it, but did a really good job of, you want these characters to survive. For whatever reason, you're there to see them overcome what is ever trying to kill them, and you want them, there's many of them, to survive come the end. That's great character development, that's great acting, that's great writing, great execution, whatever. There's other horror movies where you dislike the characters so much, or you don't give a shit about them, a bit like this, because they're not written enough, they have no character development, and you're only watching them, one, to cheer on the antagonist to kill them because you hate them so much, or you don't care about them, so you're only really looking forward to the kill. And you're looking forward to the kill because you're like, I wonder how this person's going to die, because I don't really care about them. I just want to see how they die and how cool it's going to look, how real it's going to look. Is it going to be practical effects, CGI? But you know what I mean. This movie, unfortunately, falls into the second category, which to me isn't as good, which is you're just looking forward to the kills. You're not really caring about who dies or who doesn't die or who's the final girl, who's the final boy. You don't care about majority of these. Like Paxton, probably because it comes down to Jacob's portrayal of him, but also because he's the familiar face. And a few of these actors have been in a few things, like Avantika, who played Paige, is a bit well known in the Indian community. But I think she's done like music videos and stage plays and stuff. Haven't done huge research on her, but she was probably one of the only ones that was actually playing, like the age of the character actually fits the actor's age. Jacob, he's 29. I think the actress playing like Elise and the one playing Haley, they're all in their late 20s. These are all meant to be like fresh college students from what I can gather. Which it's not that much of a jump because Grant talks about sitting a test he hasn't studied for. I don't know. To me, I assumed that was maybe a final test, but who knows? But it doesn't really explain, Paige is living in an apartment, quite a decent apartment as well. Whereas a few of the others, like Paxton and Elise, are staying on like campuses or in dorms and stuff. So it's like, okay, is Paige studying, but she's kind of like well off, like from a rich family, so she gets to live off campus. Like, just a few little things I think would have helped a little bit with character development, but still, it would have been pushing shit uphill for a lot of people, including me, to care about these characters. It's annoying because it's a likable cast, and at surface level, they're written well enough that you do like them, and you go, okay, I like them off of first impressions at the mansion while they're all drinking and playing games, around a fire. But give me more. Let me care about these characters. Let me know a bit more of their backstories. And that's the problem when you're doing a movie like this, where you have a cast of 5, 6, 7 people. They're all in the main cast of characters, and you're only focusing on one couple. In this particular, maybe Paxton's thrown in there as the third, but I think that comes down to the actor itself. Why we care about him, they're focusing on their relationship from the forefront. So it's like, okay, well, we know they're surviving. Like we know they're surviving. They're not dying. The rest are going to be lambs to slaughter, and that's exactly what happens here. That's telegraphed from the start, from the story they're telling. If they'd focused on Lucas and Madeline's relationship as much as Haley and Grant's failed relationship, then it would have been like, oh, okay, which couple's going to survive? But no, the main character is Haley, because we get a bit more of a backstory that her mother died and she was doing the tarot readings with her mother, and it kept revealing that she was going to die no matter what. So she believed the tarot cards, and you can't change fate. We get a little bit about Grant, but fuck all. It's only really anything that's tied to Haley. Paxton, not much either. Paige, nothing. Madeline, Lucas, nothing. Elise, nothing. So, to me, you could have maybe left a few of the kills later on in the movie, given us a bit more character development, and why not have two of the characters killed at the same time? Why not have Madeline and Lucas killed at the same time? Because there's nothing about you having to space out the deaths or anything like that. They're all getting killed one by one in a relatively short time. So, I don't know. I think a few filmmakers rely too much on the kills more so than who's getting killed. And the kills, in my opinion, only as good as the person getting killed. There's a few exceptions to that because of the way they're done, or groundbreaking film technique, or great practical effects, but we don't get a lot of that these days. I don't know. I think I'm just disappointed because I think that this movie just had a bit more, it had potential with just not great execution, unfortunately. But yeah, look, like I said, the kills were decent for what they were, and with the rating restraint of PG-13, I think they did a bang-up job of that. They gave us enough blood and kills for this to satisfy those types of fans, but not enough to satisfy the type of viewer like me that likes everything to do with filmmaking, so that's characters, directing, writing, the kills itself, the villain portrayed. Like, I like every aspect that, makes a great horror sandwich, I don't just focus on the tomato or focus on the cheese. I want to focus on the bread, the salami, the tomato, the cheese, the sauce. But yeah, unfortunately, didn't get that with this. I think what went for it, definitely not against it, is the time of an hour and 30. About an hour and 33 with credits. So, yeah, it's a shame because I think they did a really good job with the casting. I truly do. Like I've stated a few times. Just a shame they weren't dealt a good hand in terms of the writing and probably a bit of the directing as well. I thought like a standout performances was definitely Jacob Batalon as Paxton. I also really liked Avantika Vandanapu. Did I get that right? Oh, I really hope I didn't botch that. Well, not like she listens to the podcast, but yeah, Avantika Vandanapu as Paige. I thought they're probably the two standouts. I thought Avantika's portrayal of her death scene and her gradually, her look is decreasing over time. Like her hair's getting more frazzled and unkempt as the movie comes on. Same with her eyes; they're getting bloodshot. They're getting the purpleness under their eyes, and that comes down to obviously like her acting, but also the hair and wardrobe, makeup department as well. I think those were the two standouts to me, and I think Harriet Slater as Haley did a decent job as like the main character / final girl, and also Adane Bradley as Grant. I was all decent. It's just they just weren't done good justice by the writing, particularly, unfortunately. And it's a damn shame, damn shame. But I don't have heaps to talk about. I've talked about a few of the all the death scenes really, except for Elise's. When we saw her alone in her dorm room talking to Paige on the phone, I thought, oh, are we getting a death this early? Really? I'm like, oh, that's a bit disappointing. So I knew from then on the type of movie I was going to get. I'm like, oh, that sucks. And yeah, she's beaten to death by a ladder. And when we see, this is on me, by the way, but when I saw the, what's her name? The High Priestess. When I saw her, I thought, oh, I'm like, is that what a killer looks like? Just a normal witch? Because I knew that it was going to be a cursed deck from a witch. I can just tell by the little snippets that we were given. I thought, is that the witch's design? I'm like, that's disappointing. That's so normal. That's so cliche. And it's too typical, but I think that was the point. All these characters, like the jester that's chasing Paxton, looks like a run-of-the-mill jester because, these are, at the end of the day, a pack of cards. Even though they're hundreds of years old, they are a pack of cards, so each character has to look like what they're meant to be looking like. So I thought that the designs of Death, the Devil, the High Priestess, like the Hangman, all of them are actually good in hindsight. And I thought, okay, that's not, the High Priestess isn't the witch after a while. I'm like, oh, you dickhead, that's on me. But I was very happy that turned out to not be the case. But yeah, look, would this be a movie I'd watch again? Look, if I was doing a movie marathon or maybe like a comparison video, which I hope to be pumping out over the next few months, is doing comparison videos and like tier lists, and not just my podcast on my YouTube channel, which is released almost everywhere, like on Amazon Music, Spotify, Audible, YouTube Music, etc. On my YouTube channel, I'll be doing like exclusive actual videos of me, doing movie comparisons and movie duels, movie battles, whatever you want to call them. And that might be when I watch Tarot, is to compare it, do like a 4-way duel of Tarot, Truth or Dare, Wish Upon, and Ouija. Because they're all very similar, and it'd be interesting to watch them all back to back, and which ones hold up and which ones don't, or if they're all garbage. I don't think this would be the worst one. If I'm actually being honest, it's just a shame that it's come so many years after the other ones, even though it was based on a book from over 30 years ago. So that sucks. But anyway, I'll start to land the plane, get into my final review and ratings for the movie, and then we'll get into some trivia to finish off. So I'm doing the final review and all that first, just so people that want to listen to that can listen to that and get my final thoughts. And then, the trivia at the end could just be a bonus for people that actually want to listen to it. They don't have to listen to it because I know it's probably not going to be for everyone. Not everyone cares about the trivia. But yeah, look, that's where I end with Tarot. I didn't hate it. Certainly didn't love it. I would probably only rewatch this for content, like I said. Unfortunately, unless this was on TV and I was on holiday somewhere and it was one of the only options, I wouldn't turn it off and I wouldn't prefer to watch something else that was garbage. I wouldn't mind watching it in that situation. But we'll get to the final rating. So on Goose Talks Film here, as some people will know, some people might not know, this is your first time listening, we rate every movie out of 4 categories. Each category is rated out of 5, and those 4 categories are directing, writing, acting, and cinematography. And that rating will go towards the overall film score out of 20, which will then go towards the end-of-year rankings of the top 10 reviewed movies and the bottom 10 reviewed movies. So ratings do matter, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll go to the directing. Yeah, look, it hit beat for beat of this type of movie. I know I'm banging on about it being in this little subgenre thing of movies like Truth or Dare and stuff, but it's also in that subgenre of not a slasher, but it features a group of young people that they're getting killed one by one. So this doesn't fit that category. But yeah, look, the directing, I think what saves the directing and might give this a bit more than an average score, which is 2.5, 50%, is that the death scenes were really good. And like I said, with their limits, they did a really good job. And I think the kills will still satisfy people, even though that some of it was off-screen and interpretation type. But for the directing, I go 2.75. I think that's a decent score. Writing, probably not going to be as generous. That's probably my biggest problem is the character development and the beat for beat in terms of the story. The ending was telegraphed. A few of the parts of the ending were telegraphed through the arse. So I can't be too generous. This has to be below average for me, I'm afraid. So I'll go 2.25 for the writing. Acting, like I said, it's a massive shame. These actors, majority of these actors weren't given the time nor the writing to be able to fully just sink their teeth into the flesh of these characters in this movie. But they all did a really good job. I thought, yeah, Jacob as Paxton was great, and Avantika as Paige, both highlights, both got wicked careers, and Avantika's only 19. She was by far the youngest on the project, and I think she stood out. So I think she's got a massive, bright future in front of her. All the best to her. Cinematography, although a lot of the scenes took place, majority of the movie took place at night and in dark areas, like in attics and basements, so you could see what was going on. Like I said, the cinematography for the deaths were quite cool, but at the end of the day, it's nothing crazy. I mean, I've seen way better cinematography in horror, and that's probably what's going against this category. Is I've watched movies like Late Night with the Devil, and other horror movies that have a bit better cinematography. So I can't be too kind. So I'll just average 2.5, which gives the final score for Tarot 10.5 out of 20. Now, I know what's going to happen when I read these ratings at the end of the year. People are going to be like, oh, how come Tarot's on a 10.5 and a movie like So-and-so's at 14 or 13? Well, when it gets to those ratings, that's a big gap. When you're going from 10.5 to a 14, that's a huge difference, by the way. That it might not seem like because it's only 3 or 4 numbers, but in my estimations and the way I do my ratings and stuff and what I consider good and bad and average, that's a big, big jump. So don't think that I think Tarot's only, 3 or 4 points behind the Iron Claw or the Boys in the Boat. Movies are miles and miles apart. And, Tarot's 10.5, and that's a full 2 points above Imaginary. That's huge. Just so you know. I would never rewatch Imaginary again. Even for content, I just won't do it for content. I'm not watching it again. Garbage. Tarot, it's not going to pain me to watch that. I just got other things to watch over that. And Immaculate's got the same rating as this, which I would just in terms of the content of the movie itself and what it tackles, I'd probably watch this over Immaculate. So if there are fans of this movie out there, this is by far not the worst movie I've seen this year. And by the end of the year, I'm sure it won't even be close. But in saying that, fans of movies like The Iron Claw and all that, don't stress. This movie's fucking nowhere near those movies. Just thought I would just touch on that with the rating system, because I know it's going to be a big discussion for a lot of people come the end of the year, as it always is, which it should be. It's fine. So, turns out that there's no trivia for this movie, except for one thing, which is released as Tarot in Australia. So that tells me that it's actually released as Horrorscope elsewhere, which is a bit annoying. But anyway, that'll be the end of the podcast now. There's no trivia, but we've hit 45 minutes, which is usually the average time. So thanks, everyone, for listening. Thanks, everyone that listened to the Infested podcast and the Late Night with the Devil episodes last week. They both did quite decent with the ratings and the analytics and stuff, and terms of impressions and all that. So thank you to those people, and thanks to everyone that's either listening to every episode or almost every episode, or just the episode that they want to listen to, because, in terms of movies, because not everyone's going to listen to every episode. I have a few podcasts where I only listen to episodes where I've either seen the movie or I want to hear people talk about it. So even if you listen to the podcast for 10 minutes, thank you, because that still helps me. You're clicking on this, you're giving this impressions. So thanks to everyone. I've always say at the end of each podcast, I just want to appreciate everyone out there and whatnot. And I'll be launching Goose Talks Horror in June, which I'll be reviewing not new release horror movies, but any horror movie from any year, and taking suggestions for that. And then in probably September, October, I'll be doing Goose Talks Action, which will be action film and sci-fi related. So yeah, got a few things in the pipeline. I've currently also got a new podcast logo that reflects me a lot more. Wasn't too happy with the previous one. But anyway, make sure you're following Goose Talks Film on all socials, and you're following, subscribing, whatever you want to do, leave a review. And as always, make sure you're watching those movies. Cheers, guys.